should all Christians just automatically support Trump? And this has been a question on my mind for a very long time. And, just from an average Christian perspective, someone who reads the word every single day, someone who I'm not trying to give myself credence. I'm just saying someone who's just an average Christian and who's watching this Trump, this president, who is very, he's obviously very vocal and he's online, social media. We could see a lot of his actions and what he does. And so just trying to break down my mental model around this president. And I know this is controversial and some people, are going to hate me for this, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to give you my honest thoughts based off what I see. Okay. So I have a lot of friends who are pro-Trump, lots of friends who are anti-Trump. Okay. I have both Christian and non-Christian, of all different types of backgrounds, all different types of races. Okay. So I hear perspectives from a lot of people. And I also read up. I read up on a lot of things and a lot of different perspectives, both from the left and the right. I do want to know what people think. And this is honestly what I think and the reason why people kind of sway a certain way. Okay, so let's go through some various facts here, right? So President Trump, he is obviously, a Republican. And so a lot of Christians identify with the Republican Party. And the reason why is because they have priorities against abortion, there's certain topics like abortion, same-sex marriages, religious exemptions, gun rights, that a lot of Christians are for. Obviously, we're against abortion. Obviously, we're against the same-sex marriage. Whereas the Democratic Party, they're a lot more supportive of the abortion rights of LGBTQ protections, secular social policies, and etc. But those are kind of the main ones, and Trump has always been vocal on those main two topics. Now, after becoming president, things have changed in the sense, and what does Trump actually believe about these topics? So, with the whole transgenderism, with the whole LGBTQ thing, he basically said that that he's not trying to outlaw the same-sex marriages, but his administration has been doing a lot of things against that community. So rolling back protections for transgender people, executive orders and agency guidance that limit recognition of gender identity and restrict access to healthcare, school, sports, and military service for transgender individuals, expanding religious exemptions that allow discrimination. So supporting or signing rules that let religious groups and some businesses refuse services to the LGBTQ people. And then undermining broader LGBTQ equality in federal programs, repealing or narrowing guidance that prohibit discrimination against LGBTQ people in areas like housing and healthcare and education. So basically, he officially accepts the law, but he isn't trying to outlaw. He isn't trying to outlaw it, and yet a lot of the laws are actually diminishing the real world equality and dignity for the LGBTQ people. So that's actually what's going on. What about abortion, right? So the abortion side of things, he was very against abortion, right? Especially during his campaign. And then he kind of came out with, leave it to the states, right? So I had to do a little bit of research here. He's basically saying leave the guidance to the states. But I still do believe internally that he is against abortion, which is identifying with the Republican Party for forever, right? It's like we are against abortion. Okay, if you were to ask me, as a normal Christian who reads the Bible, what do I believe about those two topics? Number one, the whole LGBTQ thing. Okay, here's the thing. If you're not a Christian, right, if you don't believe in Jesus, you are technically free to do whatever you want, and we are not to judge you. However, as a Christian, do I believe that homosexuality or any kind of same-sex interaction is against the Bible and is a sin? Yes, I do. If this is a debate, happy to debate about it. I'm not a great debater, but it seems very clear that it's against the Bible. And you can read, I did a video about this not too long ago. So please watch that about my stance. I think it's very clear. And so, as a Christian, even though I'm not judging you, I want you to stop sinning because I do believe that there is something greater. That we're all sinners, we all screw up, but I do believe that that you're going against Jesus. And at the end of the day, I want you, as a Christian, I want you to come to Jesus. The abortion topic, I mean, honestly, I know there are two sides. When they're this small that, it's really nothing, and getting rid of it is not really anything. I get that, but I still believe, and I don't get why people, just don't understand this at all. To be honest, listen, if you were to leave this egg to grow and eventually hatch, I do believe that you getting rid of that little egg, however small it is murder. I believe you are getting rid of a baby because it will become a baby, right? Unless something horrible happens, like, obviously, we do have miscarriages. I do believe that you're getting rid of a baby. So am I against that? Yeah, I am. I don't believe in that. And I get the whole rape thing and this, I get that. But I still believe, Romans 8:28. See, if you're not in the Christian paradigm, then you won't understand what I'm saying. And I get that, okay? But as a person who is a Christian, if you are a Christian, then I do believe that it's not your choice to decide whether they live or not, regardless of circumstance, okay? Regardless of the economic circumstance, how poor you are and how much you're struggling. So that's that. And now, why do people believe in Trump? Why are people so pro-Trump? And Trump has reportedly, I mean, he says many times that he is a Christian. He, started himself as a Presbyterian, but I believe now he describes himself as a non-denominational Christian. But here's the thing: anyone can profess that they are Christians, right? Like Obama, Kamala, and Biden, who says he's a Catholic, they all profess that they're Christians. Do I believe that they're truly followers of Jesus? No, not really. I don't. But they all profess. So it's like it doesn't really mean anything, right? He also doesn't go to church, right? I think he's publicly stated that he doesn't actually go to church. Now, have I seen a lot of pictures of him with, other people, other Christian pastors who pray for him and all that? Yes, I have seen that. But is he an actual Christian? I don't know. I really don't know. Now, why do I struggle to support Trump? If I support the policies if he is against particular things, but the character and the person, this is where I just struggle, because when I read the word, right, the example of what Christ has put out for us as a Christian and everything that reads in the Bible, Trump doesn't exemplify a lot of those things, okay? He repeatedly exemplifies a narcissist, which is like kind of the opposite of what Jesus wants us to be, right? And listen, if you're pro-Trump, please don't get offended. Just hear me out on this, right? It's like, I'm just saying what I am saying. And if you're so delusional that you can't see that he has narcissistic behavior, sir, then you're not living in reality. Okay. Like, I'm sorry, but this is not really a debate. He is very, very narcissistic, right? Like, you have to be somewhat reasonable, because he does talk a lot about himself. He talks about like how what he did. I mean, he says it all the time, right? He's like, no one's ever done this before. I'm the only one who did it. I mean, he says that repeatedly. A lot of pride and self-exaltation. He boasts about his wealth, his success, his greatness, and then, and then he wants to, build monuments about himself, and he wants to, do ballrooms, and he wants to put himself on the dollar, all this stuff, right? It's like, but, if you read in Luke 14:11 and Matthew 23:12, it's like, it's the opposite of what, like the Bible says, right? And so there's also a lot of dishonesty, I believe. I don't know politics, and I don't know how hard it is in politics, and can you really be truly honest in politics? Probably not, but he does have a higher volume of making false claims, right? I don't believe. I actually have lost trust in, what he says. And I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know if he just has to lie to the people, but I do believe that he has a lot of misleading things. And the Bible doesn't, as a Christian, like the Bible doesn't endorse lying and mistrust and things like that. So I just believe that I think one of the other things that really just bother me is that he's very mean. Like his character is very, very mean. He criticizes so openly, and he just says the meanest things about people. And again, like that's not he's not being a good example of a Christian, okay, as the president of the United States, which I believe and I want it to be a nation under God, like a nation of believers, right? That's how we started, and that's what I wanted to remain. But he doesn't exemplify that. We're not supposed to, be divisive, or I mean, you have to be divisive in politics, unfortunately, but to criticize in such a mean way, I just don't believe it is an example of a good character. So at the end of the day, like, it's just hard. Even though I believe in what he supports, it's hard for me to accept him as someone I support because of some of his character, right? Just the narcissism, the criticism, and it just doesn't jive with me. And so that's just my honest thoughts. Again, like, if I were to choose a side, I guess I would be more right. But at the end of the day, I'm not right or left. I am pro life. I am pro Christianity and being a Christian nation because I believe there's a Jesus. Okay. This whole left and right and the divisiveness, listen, I don't really know about any of those things. I just want to be pro Christ, and anything that supports pro Christ. The way I look at it is it just seems like the lesser of two evils, I guess. Like if, I don't want to vote for the Democratic Party because they do believe in, supporting a sinful lifestyle, which is LGBTQ. Honestly, it's a sinful lifestyle. It's affirming a sinful lifestyle. And I just don't believe in that. The abortion thing, I mean, the Bible doesn't explicitly state it, but, I guess I would be more pro life than not. And so, those are my honest thoughts on it. And I don't know what you guys believe. I also, I think a lot of other Christians, they kind of see it like this. They look at the left, right, the left party, and they have mistrust. They believe that there's a secret society. They believe there's a evil organization that supports the left. And there's a lot of weird stuff that you see on the left party that people don't really agree with, right? A lot of the media, like a lot of the Hollywood is more towards the left and very anti-Trump. And as you know, Hollywood, there's a lot of evil and corruption, and there's probably evil societies in that party. And so when Christians look at that, they're like, okay, obviously this side is wrong because they support these evil people, and the evil people are supporting the left. So let's vote for the right. And so I think personally, where a lot of Christians are that it's just the lesser of two evils. And that's why we're going Republican. That's why we're going with Trump. Trump is not perfect. We don't also agree with, his character, but he does support a better side than the other. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Happy to chat about it. I'm not an expert here. I want to, this is just my honest thoughts about this topic.